Okay, here we are. So, big zoom in. So, here we are. This one comes courtesy of a recent call that I had with a client. And this one is looking at talking about how managers, they're not all the same. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad or one's good and the other one's bad, but they're not all equal. And there is a key thing here that makes them actually quite quirky and different. And it can have huge implications on your teams, your business, and the people within those teams. So let's go over and you know what we're gonna do. We're gonna whiteboard this shit up. So let's get over to the whiteboard. Boom. House music. Okay, everyone. I should have said this at the very beginning, but just out of courtesy, if you don't know me and if we've never met before, my name is Mike. I am the owner and founder of Cavill, and we support businesses like you in the health and social care sector and beyond to improve the teams in your business, goddammit, to give you better performing teams, better services for your customers, your services that you're giving to your clients day in, day out, making sure there's more consistency, less people problems, and we're helping with all your HR to boot along the road as well. And we do this because we have collectively over 20 years experience. And absolutely, this is something we love. And I know you don't always. So these videos are here to help you. They're here to help you in your business, help you manage your teams, and help your managers to manage your teams too. So that's the premise in which we're here. And I want to take us through now on what we're looking at in terms of your managers. Remember, I just said not all managers are equal. They're not all equal. And I know that's not a statement that everybody wants to hear, that there's some inequality, and that's right. It's right because we're all individuals and no one is actually the same, but it has a huge impact on you, your business, and your teams. So one of the things that happens quite a lot, and this comes from a recent client that we've been working with, and one of the things that comes along quite a lot, and I just want to give you a little bit of an outlay and a story before I go through the behind. Jump back in front. So before we go through that, I just really want to go through how, in terms of business, you may have multiple teams, you may have different departments, you may have different teams within different departments. And if you're not careful, it's really, really easy. And we see this all the time, where you can have a structure in your business, you can have your values, you can have your goals, you can have all these things established, which is terrific, 2 thumbs fresh. The problem is as you start to incorporate your managers within those teams, they have their own individuality in the way they manage their people, the way that they go about doing the work they're doing, the way they support their clients, communicate with their clients, the whole thing, the whole shebang, which could mean you can easily, if you've got, say, for example, 5 different teams or 5 different divisions in your business, it's really easy to almost feel like you've got 5 micro businesses within the business. And then within the teams, within those divisions, you can have macro businesses within the micro businesses within the business. And it gets really confusing. It gets kind of overwhelming, to be honest, to what you actually want. Because the reality is the business as a whole is an entity, and it has multiple functions within that entity. And all of them should look and feel like the business, not their own individual businesses. So we want individuality, and we want managers to be able to manage in the way that's best for them. You've got to be true to yourself, but it's also got to be true to us as a business. So we're looking at managers' mindsets and how the manager's mindset can have a counterproductive kind of impact on all those things that we've just spoken about just there. So how can those things have, and by the way, I'm not trying to sound hippy dippy, and I get that's what this is going to sound like before I say it. So just caveating for a minute. Thoughts are things. We are people too. No, thoughts are real things. They are real things. They mean and they make a difference. So what we think is what we say, and what we say is what we create, and what we create is our legacy and what we provide. And that's a Brandon, I can't remember his name now, who actually mentions that, but that's true. What we think is what we do. What we do is what we say. What we say is what we create. And what we create is our legacy. And that's the way in which we work. And as we've already spoken about before, people are individualistic. They're going to come in, they're going to put their own stamp on this management jazz. But we want it to still sing within the business itself. It needs to still be in tune with the values that we have. So let's just have a quick look, because you can have competing processes. I'm not going to ramble on, but you can have competing processes here in terms of different thought sets getting very different outcomes. So this is not an exhaustive list here, by the way, that I'm just about to go through. This is just an idea kind of visual board that I've put up. You can add masses to this. There'll be loads that you can add to this, but this is just a good starter for 10, really. So again, don't judge the drawings, all right? This is the best I can do, man, all right? So don't judge the drawings, but this is a brain. It may not look like a brain. It may look like a weird circle with squiggles in, but that's a brain. That's a human person. That's a manager. Okay, so it's breaking this down. So in this process, you've got managers can have their own thoughts. So they're going to have their own thoughts about how they're going to get from A to B. They're going to have a task, get the team to provide a service, to do something, create widgets, go out and service clients, provide care, domiciliary care, making sure the rotas are correct, and all those sorts of southern bits and pieces, maybe even managing invoicing or whatever the case may be. Their thoughts about that process and how best to get from A to B may not be the same as the person in team B, C, D, and E. You've got emotions. So how I'm feeling in the moment, things that are going on in my life, not just in work, but in my private life, they come into this as well. My emotions and how I'm feeling. Have you ever been in a team where you've come to work for a manager and you're walking on eggshells because you just don't know what temperament that person's going to be in, depending on what's happening at the moment in time for them, because they could be up and down like a yo-yo. I have with a number, it's called the management zombie. It's awful. Sometimes you get really good emotions, sometimes you get really bad emotions, but their emotional output can have a huge impact on that team. If you're not having that in the other team, then that's completely different too. Their feelings, their priorities, what's important to them. So sometimes you get the competing priorities of what's important to the manager in their teams and that of the business. We do this right in terms of filtering down those important things and goals and bits and pieces you want to focus on as a business. Their priorities and their values should all be aligned to that of the business. If these things are not aligned to the business, that's a different video and you've got a bigger problem. But these things will have an impact. You've got their ethics. What do they stand for? What things are important? I guess this one is kind of really heavily linked to the values. But what are those ethics? What is it that they're willing to do? What things do they do that they shouldn't do to get the end result? And how do you feel about that as a business? Their behaviors. So often, with this particular client, without naming names, right? But with this particular client, one of the things they've had is they're doing an evaluation of job roles, okay? So if you have a manager who is throwing everything out because they're unhappy with the outcome of that particular process, but then equally is then saying, well, in which case I'll do less then, because obviously that's going to get the result I want. But these behaviors are the behaviors they're going to demonstrate to the people that are below them. So if you're giving out negative behaviors, if you're having negative approaches, if you're doing things in a bizarre and odd way, you're mirroring that down to your staff. Standards are key within your business. These people, yes, it's a person, they set the standards in your business. They're at the coalface of this process, setting those standards. If their standards are not in kilter with you and are actually low to begin with, and their behaviors demonstrate that, and other priorities doing their values, you're going to have a large disconnect where it feels like you have that other business within a business within a business. They may have prejudices that they put on and they influence. The greatest way, actually, I should have done it in this way. The greatest way of thinking about this is thinking about your familial, your family kind of setup. So when you grow up in your home with your mum and your dad, You get brought up into their ethics, their belief system. You get that nurturing process that goes on, and then it happens through school as well, and it comes through your teachers and your education. You go through that process to nurture you to who you are today. It's the same in the working environment. When people come into a new business and they come into an organization, they come into a team, that is that process. Some people don't like referencing family and other bits and pieces when it comes to the working environment, but it's the same nurturing process that's happening when people come in, which makes this person so important, because you're bending and wielding people into the molding them into the shape you need them to be in your business to provide the support and services you're looking to provide. These people are key to doing that process. So their thoughts, their mindset in this whole process is fundamental. So why is this important to you? That's a killer question. So 1 minute. So this is why it's important. And by the way, I'm talking about managers here. This next bit, this applies to everybody that you have, everybody you invite into the sanctum of your business. This is important, okay? So the reason you want to find out and ascertain the mindset of your managers is, A, as we just said a minute ago, we want to make sure that it aligns to us as a business and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve, right? We want to make sure that we're not building businesses within businesses within businesses as you go down the food chain. We've got one business. And within that business, we want to make sure that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. We're all here to achieve the same things, create the same services, give the same fantastic value to our clients, act in unity and actually build, grow and scale. That's what we want to do. When you find individuals where that mindset is out of kilter, it isn't in lines with the processes you're trying to build, the values that you exude from your business, this is where you end up, and this is where we want to avoid being. The three wrongs are, in essence, it's really simple and easy. But you can have individuals that are all three, one of three, two of three. Either way, the key thing here is a wrong is a freaking wrong, right? So you don't need to build up three. This isn't a scoring system. One will do. So the first one is wrong person. You could have taken on a person who is perfectly normal and fine for who they are and they're right to be who they are, but the person doesn't fit within the organization, the ethos and the values that you have, as we just said. The second one is, it could be the wrong role. It could be that you have the right person, but they're in the wrong role. You could have the wrong person and have the wrong role. So you could have them in a role that's not commensurate to the individual that you have. You could have then the third one, which is wrong business. So all three is wrong person, wrong role, wrong business. So someone who doesn't fit with your business, your ethos, your culture, someone who doesn't fit within your teams and the people, maybe it's the wrong individual, or maybe they're just the wrong damn person for that role. Now, interestingly, one of the things you'll realize we're not talking about here is creating the right role for the person, or transforming, metamorphosizing your business into a different business that helps and supports that person. The person has to fit the role. The role of your business is designed, the role is designed to meet the needs of the business. So the whole point here is do I need that role? Do I have a vacancy of work that needs to be done? Yes, no, maybe. If it's yes, I have a role. What does that role facilitate? What does that need to be able to do that role, to do it to its full and utmost from beginning to end? That's the role. I now need to find the person to fit that. So if at any point down that juncture, it's broken, then clearly there's an issue. But the focus always has to be on what's in the needs of the business to provide the services to those individuals. Remember, what is it you do as a business? So if you're a domiciliary care company, let's just use that as an example. So you're going out to the community, you're providing care in the community. So your primary focus is to give the best care you can, making sure you're taking care of the people you're looking after, make sure you're doing and putting in place all the things in the care plan. Those are going to be the focuses in doing that. So that helps you to build a better business because you're going to give more care to more people. So therefore, you need to make sure you've got the right person that meets the role to give that care, to facilitate what the business is meant to be doing. I hope that makes sense. But whilst that applies to everybody, when you put that at a higher level in terms of management, people that have real discernible abilities to drive different things within your business, it's really easy to forget this bit. And if you think that you can have a person who's a carer in that case, and they can obviously be the wrong person in the wrong role or in the wrong business, any one of those three or all three of those three, well, if you put that up to a managerial level, it's quite easy to see when they have those abilities to make alterations, change different decisions, go different pathways, and lead teams or divisions into different places. It's quite easy to see how quite quickly that can actually impact on others below them. They can actually get that wrong idea that is out of sync with the business and develop a whole list of wrong people in wrong roles. And you've got a much, much bigger problem. So that's why management mindset has a huge implication, not just on them in their role, the people they manage, and the mindset they exude to everybody else, and whether that connects within your business, whether you're getting businesses within businesses within businesses. It's also whether you're inheriting and building a business that's filled with people that actually don't meet and connect with the ethos of what you're trying to do at all. So it's not just hiring one person that may not be a right fit. It's about hiring teams of people within your business that may not fit. So this is kind of this process, but then escalated to a much more bigger scale. And the bigger and higher up the hierarchy that manager may be, the bigger that problem could be. So mindset within your managers, it's really important. Now, really quickly, if this has been of any help, made any logical sense to you whatsoever, and you would just like to learn a little bit more, please, there is a link in the description. You can click on that. There's no fancy stuff on there. There's no webinars. There's no nonsense and bullshit around those areas, but it is the services that we provide. And if that is of interest to you, then you can pursue that and you can talk to me and our team in more detail to see if that would be something that would suit you if you wanted to. Please though, if this has been of any help, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Help us out, man. Please. I'll speak to you soon. Peace out.